Yeah, boy, it's August 23rd. It's the day Madden 17 comes out. My son is downloading it right now, 25 gigabytes, I think. So hopefully if I get choppy tonight, it might be because he's still downloading. Anyways, August 23rd, and that's episode 145, and this is a Fantasy Football Auctioneer podcast. The Fantasy Football Auctioneer podcast is the official podcast of the fantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Fantasy Auction, or like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Fantasy Football Auctioneer. We got a great show for you tonight. Tonight we're going to take a look at wide receivers. We're also going to go over some Twitter questions. We got a lot rolling in as we led up to the podcast tonight. But of course, our experts, our analysts, Slim, are always here. He skipped a free dinner tonight that included free booze just to clean his basement. Blister, is she all cleaned up?
Yeah, that's pretty sad. I'm at home batching it right now and everything, and I thought this is perfect. I won't have to try to cook anything. But I did want to get through the basement. The kids have way too much stuff, and they're not home, so it was a good opportunity for me to clean house, literally. So I did.
Mr. Mom, attaboy. And he's doing an awesome job of being our Dynasty Commissioner. And I put this in before we had the pre-talk. Slim, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Big votes up for grabs in Dynasty League, rule changes, and some people aren't happy. Some people are pretty pumped. I'm sure it'll be a hot topic when we go to our live auction redraft league road trip, golf trip here this weekend. So
excited.
I imagine we'll have first tee box when we're all standing around waiting for the first group to hit. There'll be some convo. And that's good.
That's a great conversation.
Hear the grievances and we'll figure it out. And some people might not be happy. And
continue to have fun. That's good.
Well, it's a game, right?
That's right. Okay, and speaking of game, we got lots of game tonight because we've got a lot of we just got a letter stuff, so let's just roll right into it right away here, guys. So if you guys are ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. I think I almost said cack on that one.
That would be awkward.
Anyways, wide receivers tonight. We got lots of Twitter questions. Well, 6 of them, a half dozen of them are both there anyways, so let's get rolling to them. This is segment number 1. We call this one, We Just Got a Letter. So when We Just Got a Letter, we get questions from you guys, usually in tweets at Fantasy Auction. Lots of times Slim sends out a reminder right before the podcast, and the questions come rolling in. But we do get questions all week long as well, so don't be afraid to send them out that way. You can send us questions on Twitter. It's at Fantasy Auction. We've been getting questions now on Facebook through the messenger there, so /Fantasy Football Auctioneer, you can do that. And we have guys still emailing us. It's footballauctioneer@gmail.com. This first question, Blister, I'll throw to you in no particular order, at JM_841. He says in 12-team league non-PPR, one flex, the top wide receiver often costs $70 of the 200. I project the big 3 cost 65 to 75. Is it worth it, Blister?
Well, I think we both, I know Slim too felt this way, and I'm pretty sure you feel the same way, but I really don't like the look of my team when I spend 65 or 70 bucks on one player. I'd love to have Antonio or Julio or Odell. Those guys are the ones that are pulling down the most money at wide receiver, but then I just don't like what I get to pair them with. So, I don't know if it's really worth it. You think about a top-end receiver like that, and they're going to have to put up 25 to 30 every week, and that doesn't quite happen. They'd be getting 480 points. Now, I think at PPR last year, Antonio led, and he was over 300. But, that's, you can't, you need somebody else to complement them. So I don't think it is worth it, in my opinion.
I'm in kind of the same thought. Anything to add to that, Slim, or do you want me to move on to the next one, which might add to it a little bit?
No, I agree. I feel like we talked about this a couple pods ago. I did it when we did our mock draft on air. I was the Antonio Brown guy. It's just too much for me. It's nice to have those guys for sure, but when you start getting north of $60, on one of those guys. I just don't like what it does to the rest of my starting roster spots, at least a lot of them. So yeah, I feel like I typically try and shy away when I see that price start getting, around $60.
All right, good stuff. Same guy asked, I guess it was a two-parter. So he's saying, in a non-PPR league, where's your cutoff for the wide receiver one? Second part of it is, are you targeting 2 or even 3 wide receivers from this list, or is that too heavy? So Slim, what do you think about that? Where's your cutoff for that wide receiver one?
I'm not sure if you're looking for players or anyway.
Well, let's go players at dollar value.
Okay. Well,
I'm thinking he was asking dollar value.
Okay. Let me just pull up my dollar values then. I mean, you want to devalue slightly, I think, only because it's standard, but at the same time, I think these top wide receivers still have quite a bit of value. So for me, I'm looking at probably somewhere just under or right around $40 as my cutoff, say, for my wide receiver 12. So are the low end wide receiver ones. I don't know if that helps. Like, then I don't know. So you might be targeting guys like in a standard league. That might be guys like Mike Evans. Again, I'm going to be looking for guys with still a lot of targets, but I also want guys with what I feel is going to be a lot of red zone targets, because for me, I want guys that are scoring touchdowns. If you're going to lose points on these receptions, if I can get a guy that's getting double-digit touchdowns versus a guy who's getting 5 or 6, that's going to be a decent edge. So a player like Mike Evans, is intriguing to me and is a low-end wide receiver one in standard. Brandon Marshall, he's going to be devalued a little bit because of age, but dude is a red zone beast. I think he had like 14 touchdowns last year. Should be kind of around the same thing, I think. Fitzpatrick will look in the red zone. Those are kind of guys that I would target as low-end wide receiver ones.
All right, awesome. Non-PPR does make a difference. I like the emphasis on TDs there. Let's move on to the next one for you, Blister. At Runyon1127 asks, he has a 12-team PPR, $200 budget, start 3 wide receivers, no flex. If I go RB0, how many wide receivers would you recommend carrying, and how much allotted to that position?
Okay, I think the key here is how deep is the bench. You're going to start 3 wide receivers, PPR. Obviously, you're going to have 3 pretty solid ones if you're going RB0. So I would think, say the bench is 6. I don't know. What's the standard? We like to carry 8, but I've seen other leagues with 5. Yeah. I'd probably, if you're starting 3, say you had a bench of 5, I'd only draft 2 wide receivers. If you had even a bench of
2
6,
extra wide receivers, so 5 altogether?
Yeah, okay. I might have. If it was a bench of 6, I'd debate between 5 and 6, because the key with the running back zero, 2 things happen. A, you're loading up big money on your wide receivers, and you're picking a lot of cheap running backs later. So the key there is a lot of cheap. So you need to pick guys that you're going to have to probably play matchups. You might pick some starters in there like Frankie Gore and Rashad Jennings, but you might also have to get guys from backup guys there, second string Charles Sims, Theo Riddick, guys like that, Danny Woodhead. So if that's the situation, you're going to need to have more room for running backs, because you're going to be playing a little bit of a mix and match. So keep that in mind if you're going running back 0, starting 3 wide receivers, and obviously spending money on 3 stud wide receivers. Say you went with even just AJ Green and Keenan Allen and Sammy Watkins. Quite reasonable you could have those 3 guys in your team. You're playing them all the time. You're not taking them out for somebody else. So you don't need as much depth at receivers. So 5 to 6 receivers if that's the situation. That's my number.
All right. And so if you're going to go RB0, Blister, what type of dollar budget are you setting for your wide receivers?
I would say you might be spending $130 on your wide receivers. $130 out of your $200. You know that.
I mean, I think RB0. Do you think you can go higher than 130? I mean, last night I was looking at spending 130, and I wasn't going RB0.
Well, sorry, I
Slim.
guess he asked you some. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess you can. For me, if I go RB0, I mean, that's 65% of my budget. It's for 5 wideouts. It would be something like I would be going 55, 40, 20, 10, and then around $7 or something like that. So we're looking roughly around $65, 65% of your budget. But I mean, yeah, you could definitely go more. I mean, that's spending roughly what is it, 30, just between 25 and 30 on your starting 2 running backs. So it depends how deep you want to go. If you got guys that you like that are cheaper than that, then yeah, for sure you can maybe bump up wide receiver 2 or something from 40, 45, or 50.
Depends too on quarterback and tight end, like what you're willing to spend over there too, right? So yeah, you can say RB0, but I'm getting Jordan Reed. Then that changes the whole concept of what you're doing at wide receiver.
Yeah, totally, for sure. I mean, that's a good point. You can save money definitely in those spots. Like maybe you had $5 budgeted for your quarterback. Well, realistically, you could drop that to 1 if you wanted to and get somebody still solid. And maybe you had $15 for tight end and you wanted to drop that to 3 and 5 or something and try and get Zach Ertz or something. So yeah, there's always, I mean, and that's a good thing to build in, I think, too, is build in those places where you can save money, because it allows you, if you go over budget on a guy, maybe, you had $40 budgeted for your wide receiver 2 and you really wanted, like last night, in the draft we did, Blister and I started bidding on Keenan Allen, and I really wanted Keenan Allen. I thought there was a pretty big tier drop off after him, and I spent more than I wanted to get him, but I had some other little flexible spots built in that I could make up for it.
What did you end up paying for him? I want to check.
Good question. I got
46.
$1 million. Yeah.
All right, don't go too far into it. We're doing it as part of the segment.
I really wanted him to. I was sad after that.
By the way, do I sound any better? Because I just found a set of headphones.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, because you were quiet there for a bit.
I was trying to replug it in and do stuff. And
yeah, so I turned you up actually. So.
Sound like a little Barry White.
Love it. All right, awesome. Okay, I might have to drop some Barry White there. Maybe chocolate salty balls. Whoa.
Or get on the subwoofer. Sorry, I'm thinking of Howard Stern there. Yeah,
subwoofer. I was like,
on the subwoofer.
And that's a whole different show.
That's when Auntie Buckets
no wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder Dave wanted to give you a little bit of the business the other night there, so I mean, mine's going all over the place. Shout out to the road warrior. He's probably listening like on the 7-second delay. He's on it all the time. Anyways, all right, next question. And they're all kind of rolling into each other, but some will go to you. At Devin Vaughn 7 asks, what's too much to spend out of your $200 budget on elite wide receivers? And is there a percent that you found that is crippling for wide receiver 1?
Well, like I said, it's kind of what we talked about. I mean, I think 30% for me is pretty much my cutoff, my high-end mark. So $60 on a $200 budget for me is the point of no return. I just kind of refuse to go over that. So if I can get Antonio Brown for 58, all over it. But I can't go over 60, even though I'm saying he's probably worth it. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I just, for me, don't like what it does to the rest of my budget.
Blister, I'm just looking at last night's results quickly. We had one receiver at 60. That was Antonio Brown. No one else went for more than 59, who was OBJ, sorry. I was going to say ODB, wrong guy.
Yeah.
So is there a crippling or cutoff point for you, Blister?
Yeah, probably 60. No, I'm not going to go over 60. I don't know if I've ever owned a guy over 60. I'm not too sure, but that's probably it for me. I mean, even I think I could probably live with under that though. But 60,
Yeah.
I think, is probably the cutoff.
Well, that just starts to make my heart race just a little bit. Hey, like 60, like that's such a huge chunk. You have 140 left to fill the
Yeah.
rest of your team.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something to be said, and there's something to be said in that we've talked about this last year. I don't know if we have this year, but that idea of when you're doing your bidding too, right? That anxiety and cutoffs where guys like, I'm only going to 25, and then, or I'm only going to 60, and so maybe adding a $2 bid somewhere to get that that price cutoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. 60 just feels like a heartache for that one. All right, let's go to you at Ocho Mick Ocho. He asked, outside of the standard top rookie wide receivers, what Wookiee wide receiver would you target for a team with long-term dynasty implications?
Well, outside of the standard one, so I'm sure he's talking Sterling Shepard and Coleman and Dotson and all those other guys, right?
Will Fuller, maybe? Is that kind of a cutoff?
I would definitely target him or keep an eye on Will Fuller. Obviously, Tajay Sharp right now is making some waves, and he's probably in a spot where he's in a good situation. I mean, in the sense that he doesn't have a ton of competition. Malcolm Mitchell in New England, I know he's hurt right now, but I mean, they haven't really had a guy come in there that, since Randy Moss left, really, that could, Edelman's a different kind of guy. He's a good receiver, but he's PPR and he does get banged up. He might be a guy to keep an eye on. Let's see, I'm not really, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head.
Thomas, Carew, maybe?
Yeah, you could keep an eye on them. Yeah, because I wish I had a list in front of me, but I don't. And I know that in the redraft leagues that we've been in, I haven't targeted any of them. And then in our dynasties and keeper leagues that we're in, I didn't have very many good picks, so I wasn't too worried about it this year. Slim might have a few more.
Tyler Boyd.
Wow,
Slim, I'm sure
you had less good picks than you. Me.
Yeah. You had none, and then you traded for one.
No, well, you mentioned a couple. Like I really like Tyler Boyd. I don't know if you consider I like him ahead of guys like good Michael Thomas, the New Orleans Saints Michael Thomas. I'm a big Malcolm Mitchell believer. I just think that he offers a unique skill set, something that the Patriots have sorely been missing. And I know he came from a small school, wasn't real pass-heavy offense, but he did a fair amount with the little amount of volume that he did get there. So I think that he's actually a little bit underrated because we look at his production there and just feel like, oh, he's not very good because of what he did, even though we don't look at how he got to where he did. Carew's kind of been a popular guy, I think, right? Going into that Adam Gase offense and us being a little bit sketchy on, Jarvis Land, or we don't know too much about Parker. What's going to happen there? I guess the hot button guy in Blister mentioned was Tajay Sharp, right? He's just become, he's probably had in the end of the second rounds, top of third rounds in a lot of rookie drafts in dynasty leagues, and DGB's gone, Kendall Wright sucks, Justin Hunter sucks, and Sharp's actually been looking good in training camp and in preseason games, so kind of looks like he could actually be a starter right now. So yeah, those are kind of my top guys. I'm trying to think of guys that I like that are
keep an eye on Farrell Cooper in LA. I mean, there's a situation where they don't have any real superstars. Tavon Austin is supposed to be, but they don't. Like, he plays like a multi-tool role. He takes handoffs in the backfield. He runs. So if Farrell Cooper can develop, he could carve out a role there. And I just keep an eye on Cleveland too. I mean, yeah, they drafted Corey Coleman, and they have a lot of others there though as well. And Josh Gordon's coming back, but we all probably are worried and don't know how long he'll last. But they drafted enough guys that someone's going to stick there too. So keep an eye on those guys, and it'll be closer to the end of training camp when you'd really have to, or when you'll be able to determine who that might be. But there's a lot of guys there.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Last question from We Just Got a Letter, Slim. Let's start with you, and I think it'll just kind of roll us into the recap of last night. At Coffee Boy asks, 12-team PPR league, can you go over your budgets that you spend on positions that you would what? Can you don't want to talk? What's your budget for each of the positions, Slim?
Yeah, and we got this on Twitter, and I kind of told the guy, I'm like, this is, I mean,
poorly worded?
Well, it was poorly worded. It was tough to understand at first, but I mean, these questions are tough when it just says, like, tell me a budget that you would spend. Well, if anybody who's listened to us over the last, couple of years, they know that we don't really have one budget. You go into your draft seeing kind of what's unfolding before your eyes, and you have to kind of adapt to what the draft is like. And if you see top end running backs going for dirt cheap, well, maybe you have to buy one even though you want it to go 0 RB. Or there's a million different ways you can actually go with this, and that's what I like about auction. There's in countless number of ways to build a team, and if you do it well, you should have a decent chance with a little bit of luck to win with a lot of those teams, if your team stays healthy and things like that. So, it's a really tough question to answer. And
for last night?
Pardon me?
I was just going to say, what did you look at for last night for the budget? Like your plan A was?
My plan A was to go pretty cheap at running back, I'll be honest. I was going to try out 0 RB, and pretty early, I felt like I think he might have been my first player. I'm going to pull that up. No, I don't have the order.
Well, does it go in order what I have on the script?
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Matthews at 15, Eddie Lacy at 32.
So, okay, there we go. Let's go into it. I'll just kind of break my team down for this guy and kind of take us to the next step.
Okay.
So Ryan Matthews, he was a guy who always fit into my 0 RB. He was one of the players I thought, if I go this way, I can see owning him. So he went up $15. Okay, I can take him. And shortly thereafter, we started seeing, I ended up getting Eddie Lacy at 32, 3 picks, 3 nominations later. So one of the earliest ones in the 3rd round of nominations. And if my memory serves me, a lot of the top running backs were already off the board. The David Johnsons, the Gurleys, all that kind of stuff. And I think what got in, we talked about it in the last pod, we did the running back pod with Eric Ludwig. We often see some of these top guys go for values. And so I was looking at Eddie Lacy, I was looking at Doug Martin, I was looking at LaShawn McCoy, guys like that, and thinking, all right, if one of these guys does drop, I will throw my hat in the ring, knowing that, all right, I have a budget where I can make some changes, and didn't want to spend over $30 on a running back. It was never my intention.
Yeah.
But if a guy that I thought could finish as an RB5 or better fell, I might take a stab at him. And in hindsight, this is where I think patience can pay off a lot if you go 0 RB and you feel like maybe expanding that a little bit. And I think Blister will talk to this later, because I was really impressed with one of his picks that fell into this category, and he probably knows what I'm talking about. But so Eddie Lacy was there. I made a bid, and I thought, got someone upbids me. Go ahead, that's okay. If I get him at this price, I'm okay with that. I feel like it was a little bit under his AAV. So I ended up getting him for $32, which didn't really change my wide receiver strategy too much. I got Allen Robinson as my wide receiver 1 at $50, which was roughly what I was looking to spend. And then Keenan Allen, this was an interesting one. I didn't want to spend that much, but Keenan Allen to me was kind of the last guy that was there. I took a stab at Brandon Marshall. I took a stab at Alshon Jeffrey. They went just a little bit more than I wanted to pay. I thought Keenan would go roughly the same. I was worried. I saw old Mr. Blister had a boatload of money left and not a lot of wide receivers, so I kind of saw this happening. So we got into this little bidding war, and quickly looking at my roster, I thought, okay, I got some flexibility built in a quarterback and tight end. Let's go get them. Because of that tier break, again, the old horseshoe effect, went for quite a bit more than Marshall and Jeffrey, but I got the guy that I like. I like him as to be a, he could be to me a top 5 wide receiver this year. And what saved my bacon kind of a little bit is I got Larry Fitzgerald as my wide receiver 3 for $11, which that really saved me some cash and allowed me to get right back onto my budget. So that was one strategy for me. I kind of went RB0, jumped outside of the box a little bit, grabbing Eddie Lacy, which I can live with. I mean,
Yeah.
Lister, he got Doug Martin for like $25 or something like that, which I was kind of bummed out about because if I waited, I think Sean McCoy went something similar to that too, and I thought, man, if I would have waited, I could have got one of those guys probably for almost $10 less than what I spent on Eddie Lacy. But,
All right. So what was your opening budget then for the running back position? Like, what were you saying? Like, you're going to go 0 RB. What were you looking at?
Well, my opening budget was just under $30, somewhere in that range for my starting 2 running backs. And then I planned on flexing a receiver. So I wanted to get 4 good receivers. Yeah, I think my budget for my receivers, so for 4, it was 150. It was about $130 for my 4 receivers, which I pretty much stayed bang on with.
And just for new listeners, the way that you budget, this is how much for wide receiver 1, this is how much for 2, This is how much for 3, right?
You're right. I go
That's
by
why you're
position.
adding up right now, yeah. And I go overall by groupings. I just go like wide receivers, this is my budget, and then I try to work, as you were saying, you made some hay on Larry Fitzgerald. I work that right in my wide receiver budget altogether rather than per position. But so just to say, there's different ways of looking at how to budget the position. So
yeah, right. That's a good point too. I just like looking at position by position and plunking in a value. So say my wide receiver 1, if I wanted to spend $50, okay, what kind of players is that going to give me? Am I happy with those guys on my team? And then I can say, no, you know what? I would need to spend $55 because I want to make sure I get AJ Green. I want to make sure I can get a Dez. So maybe I got to up that. And now where am I going to save that? And for me, that works best. But I mean, yeah, this is why these questions are tough. There's a million different ways to do it.
Yeah. How about you, Blister, going into just, I guess the listeners know, we were in not our big auction last night, a smaller one with some of the guys from the big auction that we do, and then some other peripheral guys that want to be involved in fantasy football but don't necessarily aren't in our big league. So we were in that draft last night, a draft on ESPN. So Blister, what were some of your budget breakdowns for last night?
Well, when I went in, I was, I wanted to have decent running backs. Like, I didn't want to go running back 0. I was hoping for guys in that $25 to $35 range. Basically, for my RB1 and RB2, I was willing to spend about $60, hopefully less. And if it would have went up, say to $40, $45 for Lamar Miller or something, I can't remember what he went for. What did you get him, Bex?
42.
So if I would have went that, then I probably would have.
I think it was. Yeah.
My RB2 would have been cheaper, probably like a Rashad Jennings for 7, and then I would have been okay with my 1 and 2 at that. But I ended up with Dougie Martin at 26 and C.J. Anderson at 27, so I spent 53. I was happy with that. I mean, I like those 2 guys. There's Dougie Martin had a pretty good year last year, and he doesn't really get a lot of credit for the amount you pay for him. Like, I think he was 4th last year for running backs in PPR. And CJ, I hope he continues where he left off. So, there is some question about the whole offense and as a whole in Denver, probably not going to be too productive. Or I shouldn't say not too productive, but there's just question marks around it. So I think some guys are, backing off of CJ and Demaryius Thomas, who I got as my number 1 wide receiver. And he was only $28 actually. So I spent less on him than I did on Jarvis Landry. I wasn't, at the point when I got Jarvis Landry, there was not much left. He was the 45th guy drafted. Sammy Watkins went at 41 for $31. I should have kept going on Sammy Watkins. I kind of wanted him. And I don't know why I stopped. I was screwing around or didn't hit the button. I don't know. I shouldn't have. I should have bid again. But anyway, so my top 3 receivers are Demarius, Jarvis Landry, and depends who my number 3 could be. I got options. I mean, I drafted Alan Hearns third because that's who somebody nominated for 13. But I spent 11 later on Jordan Matthews. I got Michael Crabtree for 12. Just I think because it was getting near the end of the draft, so I spent a lot of money. Really Snead for 2. Josh Gordon for 6. I mean, it got to the point in my auction where, like Slim said, I was sitting on a boatload of money, and it was getting to the point where I didn't have a lot of guys that were going to, should cost all that much money. So after I got my 2 running backs in place and then a few receivers, I thought, well, I'm going to spend whatever it takes then to shore up 2 solid tight ends. And I spent $10 on Kelsey and $5 only on Zach Ertz. So, I was willing to spend a little bit more on them than I probably would have in a normal auction. If I would have went stronger at receiver, got another receiver I liked in there, then I probably would have got maybe Zach Ertz at $5 and probably somebody else for $1 later on at tight end. But I knew I had money. I can run Ertz and Kelsey both if I want to on any given week because I can run them in the flex. So, in the end, I also spent I'm at running back Arian Foster $10. And Charles Sims for 5, and Devontae Booker for 4, and I know Slim, and Tevin Coleman for 3. So Slim was saying you got both your handcuffs and kind of at the point. It was at that point in time where, Charles Sims can be productive even if I did play him with Dougie Martin because of PPR. He was quite good last year. He was right there. Him and Theo and Gio Bernard all ranked right together at the end of the year. So, that's not bad for a guy. I think Gio would pull down more money. I can't remember what he did pull down last night. But then, if the question mark behind C.J. Anderson is if he falters, Devontae Booker will be the guy that steps up and takes his place. So, excuse me there, a little yawn. But so I thought, and again, I had the money. Devontae Booker typically probably only goes for $1 in most auctions now, but I paid $4 again because I had the money. And Tevin Coleman, I think I ended up going back to him just because having Ross on there, and he said that Atlanta line is good. So if anything happens to Devontae, who costs $50, I got Tevin for 3, and I think that he could be as productive in there. He was doing well before he got hurt last year, and he was a starter before he got hurt, and then Devontae got to take over. So I think he's going to get his opportunities, and he doesn't necessarily have to play for me for quite a while as long as Doug Martin and C.J. Anderson, and if I'm very lucky, Arian Foster are producing. He can sit on the bench for 6, 8, 10 weeks, whatever it is, until I need him. So yeah, that's what my team is.
All right. So what is?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's not as bad. Like, I ended up bidding on Carson Palmer 2 for $5, and at first I really wasn't happy about it. But, I mean, he's still in the Bruce Arians offense. No one's really talking about Carson. Last year he was a lot of hype because he's going to be the sleeper, he's going to be this, he's going to be that. And he had a pretty solid season. The key is he's got to stay healthy. But I only drafted 1 quarterback, and I think there's lots out there that if I need one, I can pick one up for his bye week. So, all in all, I wish I would have had one more studly receiver in this mix, and if I could have taken the money for Crabtree, Matthews, and I don't have any $1 guys. Basically, the cheapest thing I have is the Cardinals D, and I spent 2 on them. I would have been happier to have one more stud receiver and turn some of those guys that I have on my bench into $1 guys. I would have been fine with that.
Right. So your opening budget, just because we're still on that Twitter question, what was an opening budget as far as, let's say, receivers and running backs? Did you have that kind of dialed in?
No, I kind of went in, depending on which running backs I took, I was going to dictate what receivers I got. I wanted to get at least 2 receivers in what I considered the top 2 or top 2 tiers. So it would have been 2 in probably your top, where are my tiers? A sec, I got them here.
Oh, I know where your tiers are. Do you know where they are? They're in the members area on the website.
Okay.
Just saying, you can see. And I just posted, sorry Slim, it had been a couple days, I forgot, I thought I had posted them. I posted Slim's as well today, sent out a newsletter to all of the members saying that the updates were there. So in the members area, you can see Slim's tiers, you can see Blister's tiers, and I actually put my cheat sheet that I used last night in the draft is actually up there as well for you to download. So anyway, sorry, Blister. What
That's
were
okay.
what were we saying?
Well, in my tiers, I have 13 guys in the top 2 tiers. I kind of wanted to get 2 guys out of there, but I didn't. I ended up getting just 1, and then I got Landry from the next tier, and I have a bunch of guys from the tier below that and so on. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I would have liked my team a little bit more had I have gotten Keenan Allen or, Demarius, and then 2 guys from my tier 3 like Jarvis and Sammy or something like that. I would have been a little bit happier with. But there's a few guys in my second tier that I'm not real in love with. Like, for whatever reason, I don't really like Mike Evans all that much. Jordy Nelson, I don't really care for him. I like Brandon Marshall, but I am hesitant because I think he's getting old. But I mean, he did awesome last year. Alshon, you know what? Ever since Slim and I had him in that one high stakes league, he just seems to be on every team that sucks for me. So
don't even bring that league up. We should get so bad on that. Oh.
So I can't
I'm
draft
trying to block
Alshon.
that team out.
Yeah.
Every choice we had, we made the wrong choice.
We made the wrong one. This guy or this guy? Oh.
CJ Henderson and DeMarco. Oh wait, DeMarco's gonna rush for whatever the hell he had that year.
400 times.
Yeah. That was sad. So, anyways, what did I budget? Well, I went in pretty open to that draft. I figured that if I spent around $50 to $60 on my 2 RBs, it was just depending on which one I got, and that would dictate what I had on my second one and kind of what I could spend on my receiving core. But I wanted to get 2 guys out of the top 2 tiers at least. But yeah, all in all, it's not bad. I do have depth. I probably make some wrong decisions from week to week. Crabtree or Hearns or who to start, which kind of sucks when you have all your studs. You don't make that decision. Your studs play, and that's that, right? So
yeah,
Willie Snead. There's lots of guys that could produce. Jordan Matthews. We'll see.
Yeah, as long as you pick the right weeks on them, especially early in the season.
Yeah.
All right,
yes,
so I was just going to say, for me going in last night, I had a loose budget. Well, I had a loose budget around the position. So like I say, what I do is I say running backs, I group them together. I'm going to spend X amount of dollars, and receivers, X amount of dollars. And then within those smaller budgets, then I will manage those according to me getting deals or overspending or whatever. So last night I was actually coming in to the draft looking to spend $66 on, very specific, $66 on running backs, and then $130 on my receivers. And I could make that extra money in the running backs by going a $1 quarterback, a $1 tight end, and then obviously a buck and a buck for kicker and DST. So that's where I was going to try to make some money back. So that was the plan. I had Lamar Miller come in as the 3rd overall player nominated, and he hit 41, so I hit 42, because I'm of the idea that you like to very often be bidding on almost everybody, so that you're keeping everybody guessing, and you just never know what could happen, and it keeps me kind of engaged too as to what's happening. I mean, not at the 3rd pick do I need to be engaged, but so I hit 42, and I got him for 42, so then I have to do some rejigging of the budget, but I'm happy at what we have as a top 5 running back consensus-wise, and a $50+ running back for 42. So it was a good start. At the receiver position, I was looking for 130, and I wanted to get a couple of big-name guys. I did get Julio Jones for 57, which is right around, I think, market value, so I was happy with that. And in pick 46, I got Amari Cooper at $31, which made me happy, too, as B. Marsh went for 40, and Jordy Nelson for 44, Mike Evans for 38, Keenan Allen 46, you guys were talking about. So in that kind of area, 31 I thought was a nice little bargain for me. But then I was really like, well, I need a running back too now, and so I'm going to spend, I thought, some more money out of that 66 to get that RB2. Ended up with Latin Murray at $14, which made me really, really happy too as my running back too. I don't mind him there at 14. Especially seeing as later on I get Giovanni Bernard for 10, I get Duke Johnson for 9, Theo Riddick for 3. So I've got a lot of depth in PPR in that range too. What's that?
I tried getting Duke on you, but by that point, I reached my max bid. I couldn't. Couldn't touch you.
Well, and I was like, I didn't mind spending a little bit more there because there wasn't, I'd already had Gio Bernard too, so I wasn't afraid to try to get up to around that $10 point for Duke. And then I also got Marvin Jones, maybe ish overspend at $14, but I mean, there's a lot of truthers out there that he's might be the number one target in Detroit. So if he ends up being that as my wide receiver 3, I'd be pretty pumped for that. I got Devin Funchess for $5 and Sammy Coates for $3, Terrence Williams for $1, Tyler Boyd for $1, and then a tight end. I spent a little bit of money on Antonio Gates because I had money now, right? So I went away from that $1 tight ends, $4 for Antonio Gates, and then I did get Dwayne Allen later for $1 too, which I would have been very happy with the $1 Dwayne Allen, right? And up that money somewhere else, which is kind of what I was gunning for. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this, with the way this team shook out, boys. And I stayed fairly close to budget, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I don't dislike any 3 of them. And this is what I hate, these kinds of questions when it's like, here's all the teams, pick the best. It's hard because a lot of them kind of look the same. I mean, I wouldn't say a lot of ours look exact same, but when you start just looking at the players and kind of what you project from them, I feel like you can always look and say, oh, well, but maybe his wide receiver 3 isn't that great, but yeah, he's got a couple good ones down here, and one of these guys will probably be good enough to be his wide receiver 3 and be pretty solid. Like, there's just so many things that can happen. I mean, let's look back at week 4, when we get there, and then things will look a hell of a lot different. But
for sure. I thought it's interesting that we all kind of came in with this 130-ish type of a look for wide receivers, though.
Well, it's funny. I just added this question. I'm sorry, it came in like 10 minutes ago when you were talking, but this guy tweeted and asked, so if you wanted to target 3 wide receivers in the top 20, what are budget concerns? And I tweeted him, I said, I'll try and get this on because I kind of thought it was an interesting question.
Yeah.
But it's funny
so
because you mentioned
Josh
that.
Swede.
Yeah, I should have given him a shout out there, but it kind of speaks to what you're saying. I think we were all pretty close. I mean, I'm going to venture a guess because I would think all of us going in probably have our heart set on getting one receiver, maybe around the $50 range. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, I would agree. That's about what I would gun for.
I feel like that's kind of the cutoff for most owners. They look and they say, okay, that's, maybe DeAndre Hopkins slides, or maybe that's Allen Robinson, or maybe Des Bryant slides, or A.J. Green. Like, I think that's in a perfect world, right? You get A.J. Green or Des or something for 50, and
A.J. was 51 last night. Des was 55. Allen Robinson 50. So that's the ballpark.
So I think that's always a popular thing. I think most of us, we want to try, at least us 3, right? We don't want one of those top 3 guys because we know they're going to be too expensive typically. I mean, Beck bought Julio last night, but it wasn't too bad. I think it was 51.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
57, crazy. Right around
57.
market, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever though.
I saved money on Lamar Miller, so I wasn't afraid to go to add those extra $5 or whatever and throw them up there. So,
like for me personally, I feel like a really safe kind of budget is something like 50, 40, 20. Just kind of a ballpark. You're gonna get a mid wide receiver 1 at 50. You're often gonna get kind of a low end wide receiver 1 or really high end wide receiver 2 at 40. I mean, T.Y. Hilton, who I think I have as my wide receiver 13. I have him as my wide receiver 11. Like, he usually goes for kind of low 30s, mid 30s. So I always feel like, if I got $40 budgeted, I can really jump up if I want to and someone slides, like I tried to do with Keenan Allen or something like that. And then 20, I feel like it's just a safe number. Somebody always seems to fall, I feel like, to 20, whether it's Eric Decker or Julian Edelman or Randall Cobb or Jarvis Landry or something like that. I mean, you might not love them. Jeremy Maclin, like, there's just lots of guys, I feel like, around that price range that have wide receiver 2, pretty easy wide receiver 2 potential, and maybe even some low-end wide receiver 1 potential. So I don't know how you guys feel about
Blister, what do you think? I mean, that is kind of where I look. I love the wide receiver 7, 8-ish in there, right? You're ready to get about that 50, and then if I can get another one for 40, and then I'm anywhere from 15 to 25 on that wide receiver 3, depending on what I'm looking pre-draft at. But Blister, what about you?
What was the question?
Wide receiver. If you're going to target 3 big wide receivers, like how would you budget that? The exact question is, if you wanted to target 3 wide receivers in the top 20, what might be some of your budget combos?
Well, yeah, it would probably be something like that. You're probably looking, if you want one of the top 5s, you're going to have to pay 50, and then you're probably going to have to look 50, 40, 35, or you could go, that'd be 125, but that's probably pretty realistic. Or you could go 3 guys probably between 35 and 40, and you could get guys in there for about 115, maybe 110, if you did something like that. I mean, if you wanted Landry and Watkins and who's the other guy there? They all went around $30, 31, 30. So that you could get them, those guys, if you consider them your top 20, which I think you easily could for about that much money. I think I just remember though, in other teams in the past, and I think my dynasty team is a good example. If you can get Antonio Brown or have that one stud, it does help your team. Like I had a pretty garbage dynasty team that won last year, and I'll be probably like, nothing would shock me if I didn't even make the playoffs, because I don't think they were that good. So, but I don't know. I don't think you can really rely on that to happen too often. But if you can get some real good player to be your anchor and then build around that, then I think it's worth it. But I think there's plenty there. Like if you got 3 really good starters, at least 2 studly ones, and you're in pretty good shape. But I was just doing some number crunching too. That's why I wasn't paying too good of attention, because I was looking at all the draft last night. So I was just looking at how many guys, how many guys were drafted that cost double-digit money. So this is $10 or more. So that's a pretty wide gap when guys are going for over 60 and down to 10. But just to give you a quick rundown, I had 9 double-digit players, so half my roster. Bar 6, Ron 5, Davis 5, Gibby 7, C 5, Slim 5, Forbes 5, Drum 4, Goosh 7, Beck 6, and Coiner 4. So I added that up real quick. That's 68 players only out of the 216 that were drafted. That's 30% roughly, about 31%. So that means 70%.
More than $10. Wow.
Yeah, $10 or more. That means 70% of your draft, roughly, not going to all be like this, but it's probably going to be pretty close. 70% of your draft is going for under $10. 70%. So if you really want to win your league, you got to do your homework, guys. And I'm not saying you guys, I'm saying for the listeners, but most of those players out there are going to be costing $9 or less, and a lot of those guys are going to be those ones that are going to, be crucial to you winning your league, because there's so many of them out there. You want to make sure you're getting the good ones, not just saying, it's the end of the draft, I'll let the computer pick the last 6 for me, or whatever the case may be. Right? If you're going on live job, obviously you can't do that. But geez, that really made me think about how valuable those last guys are, because you can't just throw them away, because most of the guys are, they're running on, if you're looking at double digit guys, like I said, $10 is double digits. So obviously your $10 guys aren't, the key to your team as much as your $50 or $60 guys. But if you only have 4 double digit guys or 5, you're really putting a lot of emphasis on those guys to carry the mail, basically.
Well, and one point to that too, I think that's good, is that, and this point that Blister just made illustrates it. If you can take your bench spots, and I'm not saying for all of them, but in a perfect world, if you can allocate $2 or $3 instead of just, a lot of us just put $1, $1, which there's going to be times where you're going to get there. The last couple picks, you're probably only, if you've done things, I don't want to say right, but if you've done it, pretty well, you're probably only going to have $1 for your last, 2 or 3 selections. But if you've had 2 or 3 or 4, might be a little stretch, or a lot of those mid-range bench guys, it gives you the flexibility on a lot of these late round flyers that Blister's telling you to go and find, to say, oh, if someone nominates him for a buck, maybe beats you to the punch on a guy that you like, you have the ability to say, yeah, you know what, screw that, I'm going 2. Because at this point of the draft, budget doesn't matter. Like, values don't matter. If you really like a guy and you need to spend $3 to get him, and our AAV says he's worth 1, then no, he's worth 3. Because this might be the difference of a good bye-week filler or an injury replacement or something. So if you can find money to allocate, $3 or something, so you can scoop some of these good guys that are going to get nominated. Somebody's going to think they're going to snag them for a buck, and you could say nope. Like Blister was a perfect example last night. He had a little bit of money left over, and he could scoop up a lot of these guys if he wanted to. Tevin Coleman and Booker and guys that we talked about in the pod before that have some upside because he had the funds left. Now, I'm not saying go and just like throw away money and your bench and not use it on your starters, but if you can kind of budget that when you find yourself saving a little bit of cash, I'm not saying just go, oh, I'm going to lump this on, I'm going to get a wide receiver 5 for $20. Well, maybe you want to just sprinkle it around a little bit in your bench and get a whole bunch of $4 guys. Just something to think about.
Yeah, and you're not saying do like 8 guys at $3 each and save $25 for your bench, but instead of 8 $1 guys, it's 3 or 4 $2 or $3 guys, right?
Yeah, and I mean we've all done it. We've all made benches. We've probably all drafted teams where our whole bench has been consisted of $1 guys. It happens sometimes. You overspend on a guy you really want. Well, you got to make it up somewhere. You got to steal money off the bench. It happens. But it also happens the other way, where maybe you find yourself with a little bit of extra, or maybe you budget it from the beginning and you stick close to your budget and you have that flexibility still.
And it allows you also to, in those late rounds, say, Dwayne Allen for 2. And then everyone else said, well, I'm not going 3. Okay, sold, right? So those guys, I mean, not Dwayne Allen's maybe not a good guy to say, but, it allows you to kind of do that late too, where you've outpriced everybody on your nomination for a guy that you really wanted, rather than going 1 and then he goes 2 and you're like, oh, I can't go 3.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another thing that I kick myself sometimes late when I go $1 for Sammy Coates, and then someone goes 2 and I'm like, oh. So
especially
you go
when I do a
$2
draft
Sammy Coates
online, I find myself guilty. I just click a guy and hit nominate, and I don't even think, oh man, should have changed that, or I could have changed that, and just kind of space out a little bit.
And I think I did that for last night. Phillip Rivers, I nominated him at like 118, and I went 2. And I mean, I'd only budgeted $1 for a quarterback, whatever, but I went 2 because I had that little bit of money, and I wanted to target Phillip Rivers. And then nobody went to 3, and I was like, yes. And it was an interesting run, I thought, last night to the DST run and the kicker run.
Yeah.
Kind of all happened, right? Once somebody does that, then and then everybody wants to jump on it. And I crossed my fingers when I put Carolina in for $1, and I thought, well, it was pretty early too that there's no way I'm going to get them. And then, whoa, look at that! I did at nomination 48, which was still pretty early. So, anyways, I was going to say just to wrap things up as we're talking about bench guys. What if some of these guys are bench guys. Blister kind of gave a little list of what if we did like a poor man's version of Who's the Man? And
sure.
I mean, I know that some of these guys are probably going to outscore. Like it's probably a lock that someone, it's not a hot take to say, Doug Baldwin's going to score more than Tyler Lockett. But when we're just talking about who would you rather draft, and just give me like a quick little like 1 sentence on why.
Yep. Sure.
All right.
Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
so first one, Blister, let's go to you. Marcus Wheaton or Sammy Coates?
I'm going to go with Wheaton. I just think that he was there last year. Well, so was Coates last year. But I just think that, my gut's telling me Wheaton. At the start of the year anyways. By midpoint, it could be Coates, but I'm going to start with Wheaton.
All right. Slim, how about you?
Same thing, Wheaton. I think the prices are similar. I think even you can get Wheaton cheaper a lot of the time. I think there's some hype with Coates, or there was. He hasn't looked real great lately, so it might be coming down. But I think Wheaton's still a young guy. He's been in that offense for a couple of years now. He's shown strides in that offense. So why can't he just keep getting more involved? Why do we have to be obsessed with receiver has to be sick as a rookie in order to be, a viable fantasy guy going forward? Like, we always forget, like, Odell Beckhams don't grow on trees, man. Like, that just doesn't happen all the time. Most guys need time to develop, and Wheaton's a prime example, I think, of somebody who could be doing that.
So for that same reason, I'm going to take Sammy Coates because he didn't do much last year, and he's a freak, and because he's going to be a guy I'm getting late anyways for very little dollars. I have no problem having him ferment a little bit on my bench, and then hopefully come back strong in the second half. All right, next one. Well, I don't know. That's a good question.
Good question.
good question, but I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm probably not that if I'm in a situation where one of those two guys, I'm starting them like at the draft, I'm like, yeah, man, like Sammy Coates is going to be my flex. Then I didn't do a very good job drafting, so I'm going to go higher upside with Coates. I think is my idea. Okay, Blister, back to you. Let's go Rashard Matthews or Tajay Sharp.
Well, this is kind of a tougher one. Tajay is really getting a lot of hype right now, but I want to go with Matthews, especially in a PPR format. I think Sharp could make some bigger plays, but I'm going to go with Matthews, saying he'll outscore him in the long run. But I think they're both going late in your draft, so you can't really argue that point. I think you can get them both close to $1 or so. So I can see you going either way here, but I'll go Matthews.
Right. Slim, how about you, Matthews or Sharp?
I slightly lean to Matthews. I mean, Sharp's getting all this buzz. I typically kind of fade rookie wide receivers like this, just because I feel like they're going to be really inconsistent. But he could be one of these guys, man. There's not much in this offense, especially passing-wise. So, maybe he's just running crossing patterns and stuff on the field, and Mariota's pretty good at that kind of stuff. We saw with Delaney Walker last year. But right now, I still do like Rashard Matthews just to get a little more volume.
All right, Blister, Golden Tate or Marvin Jones?
How are you going to pick?
With that, I'm going to...
Truther and Truther.
I'm starting to lean Marvin Jones now, and we thought Marvin Jones might be more of a red zone guy over Tate, anyways. And Tate, if Tate's the number 2, it's not a big deal. He does better, I think, in that role, anyways. But I'm going to go with Marvin Jones because he's getting a good rapport right now. He's costing a lot less than Tate, and if he's got that red zone going for him, I think in the end he could outproduce him.
All right, how about you, Slim?
I tend to agree. I mean, and it comes down to price. If you can get Jones for $10 cheaper than Tate, I used to think Tate would still be a decent red zone threat, even though he's this short receiver. We always think these guys aren't red zone threats, but
that's a Danny Woodhead.
Yeah, well, there you go. And he's a running back. Oh my God. Yeah. But yeah, he still had that. I thought a 10 touchdown like ceiling, but I feel like Marvin Jones kind of has that same type of ceiling. So he might not catch quite as many passes as Tate, but I think there could be potential for more big plays. So looking at them, maybe being fairly equal in fantasy production, I'll take the guy that's $10 less.
Here, I agree with both of you.
Bex, you drafted.
All right. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. You got Jones for 14, and Gibby paid 25 for Tate. There you go.
There you go. Wow. Half price.
Yeah.
Half price. Okay, Blister, next one, this is Jarvis Landry or Devontae Parker.
This could be tougher than it looks, too. I mean, Landry he's going to be a PPR guy, but he might not see the end zone enough. But in the Gase offense, Parker should play the receiver. I think the X-receiver is the guy that is the big stud. So I'm going to stick with Landry because I've seen what he did last year, and I have yet to see Parker do it for a full season. That's the only reason, though, but I could easily see that go the other way. And Landry's a lot more expensive than Parker.
Yeah, good point. Good point, Slim. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with Landry. I just think he's getting hated on a little bit too much. I'm not a huge fan, but I think he's still going to be valuable. And same with Blister. I mean, Parker has all these intangibles that we like, but yet we still haven't quite seen it enough. I mean, NFL is a 16-game season. It is a small sample size, and we've only seen a much smaller sample size than Devontae Parker. And yeah, some of those games he was pretty good. He flashed some stuff, but I need to see a little bit more before I'm ready to take him over Jarvis Landry. Even though Landry, you know, I think last night he went for $30. For me, that's too high. But if I could get him for, you know, the low 20s versus Devontae Parker going for, you know, 10, 12, I'll take Landry.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. All right, Blister, do you Jalen Strong or Will Fuller?
I'm going to stick with Jalen Strong. He was there last year, didn't get to do much. He had a couple, showed up once, I think. And Will Fuller has a bit of hype going with him, but there's as many critics out there that don't think that he's capable. So I just think my gut's telling me Strong. They're both cheap at the end of your draft, but I'm going to go with him.
How about you, Slim?
Yeah, I think they're both $1 guys. Can I say neither? Because I don't like either of them. If I'm getting them both for $1, there's probably a lot of other guys I'd rather have for that $1. I don't know. Gun to my head, maybe I'll say Fuller. I don't know.
I mean, take Fuller for ceiling. I think they both have like basement level floors.
Yeah, for sure. There's what a 1 touchdown floor probably for both of them.
Yeah, the two of them combined 1 touchdown.
Yeah, that could be realistic.
They both run in with the football in their hand, and the NFL has to come up with a new .5 TD rule.
Okay, that's not
Except for I don't think Jalen Strong could keep up with Will Fuller.
No.
What was the score? No, he couldn't. Anyways, all right, last one here. Let's go to Seattle. It's Blister, Dougie Baldwin, or Tyler Lockett.
I only threw that one on there because there's so much hype going for Lockett right now.
Where are you going, Blister?
My computer almost died on me. I didn't realize that. Getting a little more comfortable.
Sorry, at least you didn't fall off the chair. Back in bed, though. I like that.
Back in the bed. That's where I do my best
work. Back to Barry White.
Barry. I'll go with Dougie. Dougie the Sluggy. I think he's going to have a regression from last year's crazy touchdown pace that he had, and Tyler Lockett could cut into that a bit. But I'll still go with Doug.
All right, you, Slim?
This one's tough. I mean, we know Lockett's this big breakout candidate. You know, he typically goes for like a third of what Baldwin goes, and this is the part that's tempting to me. Right. I mean, yeah, I think we all agree Baldwin's having a regression to some extent, but part of me still says, like, hey, a lot of what he just did it in half a season. So even if he regresses a little bit, but now they keep kind of what they did on offense for the second half of the season. Now they do it for a full 16 games. Well, why can't Baldwin get close or equal to where he did? So he's being taken kind of as this low-end wide receiver too, but to me he's got wide receiver 1 upside still again, a low-end wide receiver 1 ceiling there. I think his floor is built into his price right now. I don't see him being any lower than kind of a low wide receiver 2. Whereas Lockett, you know, he's down for us as our wide receiver 38. You know, he's got a lot of work to do to jump up into, you know, where Doug Baldwin currently sits even. So I still actually do like Doug Baldwin. If I can get him up for like $20, I think that's a really good price. In fact, you know, that's to me a guy you should be targeting. 1, because I think he's got the upside. And 2, like I said, his floor is already built into his price. You're not overpaying. I mean, anything you get above and beyond is just, it's gravy, actually. So you're actually making money here. But, yeah, I'll go with Doug.
And I'm going to go Baldwin as well for a lot of the same reasons, but I don't want him as my 2. I want him as my 3 with low-end 1 upside.
Yeah, to me, he's a perfect wide receiver 3. Like, these are the guys you want as a wide receiver.
Which he fits right into your 50-40-20, right? Like, Robin.
Yep.
And you, Marshy Baldwin, that's sick.
Well, and that's kind of why I like that dollar amount. I mean, you look down there, there's a lot of guys. I mean, Eric Decker's one. I'm not necessarily sold. Moncrief getting a lot of hype. as somebody who could get in there. I don't necessarily think he's going to become a wide receiver one, but he could outperform his price. Baldwin we mentioned, even for me, Larry Fitzgerald or Michael Crabtree to me can sneak into like wide receiver 12 territory. I think they both get enough volume to do it. So there's a lot of guys to me in that range that I think make really interesting wide receiver threes.
Yeah, I agree. All right, awesome stuff, guys. Wide receiver heavy tonight, second podcast of the week too, which is always fun. If you're interested in the running back special, we discussed that on Sunday. So a couple episodes ago, we had Eric Ludwig on, the naval officer. So it was a perfect way to name the podcast last week when he was on, and then I started going through his bio, and he talked about being in the Navy, et cetera, surface warfare. He was a surface warfare officer, and you can't write that for the running back special.
That's right.
Right? Like, he was a surface warfare officer in talking running backs.
I haven't listened to the pod
awesome.
yet. Did you play in the Navy for his intro?
Yeah, of course I did. But what I did, and actually he messaged me about it. I was going to play the YMCA version, and I didn't want to do that to him. I thought that was kind of mean. So I found a cover version that was like, I want to say by a Scandinavian metal band.
Oh, yeah?
So he messaged me and said that he was expecting in the Navy to come, but he really enjoyed that version of it. So.
Oh, yeah? Good. Yeah, that would kind of, you would have surface warfared your ass if you would have played the YMCA.
And he's a nuclear electrician. Like, I mean, come on, man. The resume there is enough, not to mention all the sites he writes for and all those things. Like, jeez. I tell you. Anyways, so if you want to listen to running backs, you can go back to that one. We've done some quarterback tight end stuff earlier as well. Don't forget to check out the Ross Tucker podcast from last week as well, when he mentions he always wanted to be a goon defenseman and slash guys in the back, which I thought was a kind of a dirty comment.
That's a good.
But it was good. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. If you have questions for us as you're heading into your draft, @FantasyAuction is the Twitter handle. You can leave larger questions and comments on the Facebook page, /FantasyFootballAuctioneer. Or you can email us at footballauctioneer@gmail.com. We've got full rankings rolling now into what is going to be the primetime season for your drafts, and just a few weeks left until the regular season. And today, marking the day of Madden 17 coming out, I can't wait to school my 10-year-old in it tomorrow, which will be wicked.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, I can beat him in Madden because it's a little bit complex yet for him, but NHL, forget about it.
Toe drag your ass.
Oh, all day long, and I just can't line them up to hit them. Like, I don't, like, there's just too. I want to go back to NHL controllers, but I know that I'm missing out on the game experience when I go to the. If I go to that, then I feel like I'm cheating a bit, you know.
Then you can't just come out from like the corner into the slot and just fire a wrist shot top shelf like you used to be able to do.
Exactly. And I cannot line him up because he's using the double joystick. He just can't. Like, I can't line him up for any sort of hits. And so I'm trying to drop that big hip check in, and then he just toe drags around me and. And just rough, and he just lights me up too. He actually knows like how to aim and stuff, which that doesn't happen for me. It's just shooting. Anyways, I always make it up in the second period. Well, I always make it up in the second period because he's going down on the screen, right? And so he doesn't have as good an aim going down. So then I can make a little hay. But anyways, Madden tomorrow. And on that note, speaking of tomorrow, Blister, I will see you tomorrow for free lunch.
Right. Yeah, I'll get that.
Spot if you're there before me.
Okay, will do.
Don't skip the free lunch tomorrow. Slim, I will
No.
see you at 7 Bells at Blue Water.
Woohoo!
And for the rest of you, I'll see you when it's springtime in the Rockies.